Grendel is one that I'm very excited to see costumes for. I just think from like a design aspect, like that's a character that you want because you're like, ooh boy,
Yeah.
like what type of fabric are we looking at? What type of cuts?
I
Like,
want her to be like a replica of Catherine the Great. Because Catherine the Great literally had like all of those like erotic furniture you see from like the 1700s. Those are all from Catherine the Great's collection.
hello and welcome back to the channel. Amber here from Road to Valon, and today I am joined by Redfield. And what tends to happen when we get Wheel of Time news and images and costume stuff, I am usually like directed straight to Instagram, and you and I are immediately texting about things.
Yeah.
And this was the case last week when we got some of the new images and artwork from Sharon Gillam for the Wheel of Time. And I believe the first thing that we talked about was the Damane. And this was just, I mean, when you said it, it was like brain explosion. I was like, yes, exactly this, exactly this. So I want to talk about that. So I'm going to go ahead and find that first.
Yeah, so and I could be slightly off in my own interpretation. Just because I haven't read this section of the book in a few years, and they're so vast that it's a little hard to keep track sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
With the Damani, we're looking at them in the book through the eyes of individuals from Randland, like whatever
Right.
this continent is, Randland. And they are seeing the Damani as kind of a slave, a super subservient, you have to do what the Soldam wants you to do. And in our mind, that's a very like slave like mindset, which it is. This is all brainwashing. We'll be perfectly clear.
Yeah.
They are brainwashed.
Mm-hmm.
But they themselves don't necessarily see themselves as slaves. This is just what happens when someone who can channel reaches channeling potential, right?
Correct.
They just
Right.
become a Damani and that's it. And to them, it's not a bad, like, it's not super bad. It's not great, but it's not bad. And they feel like they, I guess, would be more like a civil servant,
Right.
is how
Right.
I saw it. Like, they think of themselves as a civil servant. We have two different types of collars in the world.
Right.
One collar is very stereotypical of slavery,
Right.
right? It's a metal collar, it's a dog collar, it's around your neck, it's constrictive, it's like a pull back thing, confining. And then we have like actual collars, like on shirts and stuff, that people don't ever really consider being a collar. We've seen from the designer that they enjoy mixing time periods and gender specific garments.
Mm-hmm.
This reminds me way more of like a 1600s 1500s collar, even like a puritanical collar, right?
Yes. Yes.
That's very high, very long, and back in the day, not necessarily with the Puritans, but with any type of royalty, like the collar is elaborate. The
Right.
collar is a status symbol. It is covered in lace, which is expensive at the time. The bigger the collar, the more wealthy you were. I mean, Queen Elizabeth, no, yes, Elizabeth,
Yeah. Yeah.
with the big, like,
Yes.
the big collars, like, it's all a status symbol. So to me, this really read like collar status. And
Absolutely.
maybe it's not necessarily a status of them, but it is a reflection of the status of the
Of the
soul
soul
dam
down. Yes.
onto
Yes.
them.
Yes. This is something that I think is, I mean, it's so obvious when I think about it now, because in Seanchan, they have so many different tiers in the social ladder. And depending on what type of slave you are, some slaves actually have a higher status than just some regular person on the street. So everything that you're saying makes so much sense.
Yeah.
And especially from a design aspect, I think it's more visually pleasing to pull in something like this versus something that you're going to wear like a choker,
Yeah.
just to look at anyways. And then too, there's so many other issues on top of that. Like you don't want to put your actors and actresses in something that could be dangerous. You don't want to put them in something that's incredibly uncomfortable, where this, you can see it's almost on, I want to say leather. It might not be real leather, but
Yeah,
this looks,
it's on something.
yeah, it looks much more easier to wear and less dangerous, I guess. And I just think that everything that we're seeing from Seanchan, the design aspect of it is so much more elevated than what I imagined in the books. And I like that a lot. And I like this collar a lot for that reason. I don't have any attachment to how the clothes or the different descriptions of what people are wearing in the books are. Like, that's, I can separate the two between TV and the books, but I think in this instance, it works really well. The color palettes, even this gray on gold, it's so toned down when you combine it with what the other members from the Seanchan culture are wearing, like
Yeah.
this woman behind her in these really bright, vibrant colors. You're wearing something because it's your job almost. And here it's just kind of like this mute gray. And then like the collar, which is like the jewel on it. Like that's mine. That's my property.
I was going to say there's a very interesting visual connection between the collar on the Damani and the Adam on the.
Yeah.
Too many weird words in a sentence and I lost it. I was doing so good
On the Soldam.
on the
Yeah.
Soldam. This like they both golds stand out in the same way that makes them visually connected, but they themselves are not connected. We might see the chain as more of a flow situation.
Yeah.
It's just a little hard to, it's the same thing with the shawls. Like, it's a little hard to act with things.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of the first things that I learned in theater is that things that move or things that jangle or things that sway are very disconcerting to the audience. I don't know what it is, like they pay too much attention to the thing and not the acting. Visually, you have to make that connection without physically making that connection. And I really think that they got a connection between the two by, like as you said, the muted colors with that stark gold, and then these rich colors with the stark gold.
It looks cool. I even appreciate the makeup and just general like look that they've given the Damane. Okay. So this was another thing that I thought was interesting because in the images from the show, instead of the art images, I haven't seen one of the collars from the back.
Yes.
And I like this almost, it's like an Aztec calendar design or symbol back there. And I almost wonder if this is like some type of key or some type of mechanism that locks them in.
Well, what somebody was mentioning when I posted about the collar thing was Jordan made a very conscious effort to say that the Damani collars click closed or snap shut.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I'm assuming that maybe the one power makes it click closed.
I was visualizing something like the one power kind of like flowing into the circle on the back and you hearing it or seeing it, some type of activation is needed. But I think it's a really interesting concept. I do also like the cuffs instead of like a little like bracelet. I think it makes it much easier to identify who you're looking at, what their status is, what their role is, what their job is.
Yeah,
and
very similar to the Aes Sedai and the color and the ring being massive. You can tell that this is a Damani and a Soldam from, walking in the background of any scene. You'll be able to tell these people.
Yeah,
And you
absolutely.
should pay attention to these people. Like,
Right, right. I want to talk about the High Lady Suroth and just this entire design. And the first thing that immediately stood out to me was the color palette. And I know in the article they talked about wanting like the colors of rust,
yeah.
but when I saw it in the books, the Seanchan have a lot of influence from like insects from
Hmm.
nature. And when I saw this, I thought of the color of a beetle, like these jewel tones
Yeah.
that, like a scarab, where the light hits it in a certain angle and you've got like teals and golds and all different kinds of colors shining through.
Yeah.
And
Very
that's what,
metallic.
yeah, yeah. And that's what I immediately was like, oh, like it's like the color of a beetle, but not the actual like design of one, I
Yeah. We're
guess.
not really getting bug eyes. We're not really getting like that like carapace shape.
Right. The books, like I always thought of like antenna because they had the little like
Hmm.
designs from the helmets on the warriors. But with this, I still see a little bit of an insect influence. Like I feel this is more like praying mantis
Yeah.
versus
I kind of always saw them as
beetle.
more of a praying mantis, especially Lady Suroth, like, and the
Yeah.
and the mandible shape. I think
Yeah.
we're gonna see that a lot more. Whereas the picture of the Damani in the background, there's a guard of some kind, and he has those
Yes.
teeth, which
Yes.
is for me not. It's super scary. Like, don't
Yeah.
get me wrong. It looks more like a fish.
Yeah, yeah, like a one of those
Yeah,
deep sea fish. Yeah, where the jaw like unhinges.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Because
but
it's just so big and bulky. But I kind of always saw them more like a praying mantis shape. But I also enjoy how they made it praying mantis shape, but they didn't necessarily go with like that big bug-eyed, like alien looking idea. They kind of streamlined
yeah,
the idea of.
it looks more flexible instead of bulky, if
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah. And they didn't necessarily do like the traditional antenna. Like, I
Right?
feel like they looked at bugs that were not your common bug.
I like that though. I like that
Yeah.
though because it's still you recognize it as something of nature, but it's not like, oh, that's exactly like it looks exactly like a beetle,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. I mean, I think at that point, then it would become very farcical and you'd kind
Yeah,
of lose the design integrity.
right, right. No, that's a good point. Can you talk about that a little bit more?
Yeah. So, like, a design integrity, there was an amazing TikToker that I was watching, and they were talking about House of Dragons and the design integrity of those garments and how they all seem to be of the same place. They all seem to kind of fit together, and they are as serious as the stuff that's happening around them. They do have bright colors, but they're not dumb color. I don't want to say dumb colors because colors aren't dumb, but like, you're not going to see like neons. You're very rarely going to see like super bright colors unless it's important to the design or that character to have bright colors. So in this case, if it looks like a beetle, like a, I keep thinking like bug as in like alien, kind of like with the big eyes like here, and
Yeah,
they look,
yeah,
that's not realistic within this world. But they are the same people. They come from the same place. They come from the same Arter Hawkwing base, but they
right.
are
They do
just
have a
separated.
common,
Yeah,
right. They do have a common history background. They came from somewhere. They weren't dropped off on a UFO.
exactly. Um, so like I'm gonna be really interested to see like the Seanchan versus the Sea Folk
Yes.
versus any place up north in the Borderlands.
Okay.
Be
Shara is a fun one
yeah,
too.
like any place up there is going to be
Yeah.
interesting because, as we mentioned, like they all come from the same base culture. but they are drastically different. If they looked all the same, then I would kind of question it, because it's been what, like 3,000 years,
It's
some
something like that.
some
Yeah.
ridiculously long period of time, and they're going to change.
I like the fabrics where it's almost looking like a snake skin or something reptilian.
Yeah,
But when I first saw this, I got really excited because I don't know how long ago it was that they released images of High Lady Suroth, but my mind immediately went to all of the different creatures that they have in Seanchan and how they would have like different types of like leathers, I guess. Like here, like on Earth in our time, like you have people who are wearing furs or snakeskin, whatever. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like what if they're incorporating these odd creatures? We don't know what colors they are, what they really look like. What if they're incorporating that into the fabrics? That would be really interesting.
yeah. I
But
mean, you can definitely see it, at least within the United States. Alligator is not as popular in New England.
right.
Right? So yeah, they're probably gonna start introducing some of those like unique or exotic materials. I mean, also, to be fair, this is taking place on Earth. The costume shop, is making these out of Earth materials.
Right.
Um, so I expect them to do a lot. I mean, they've already shown that they do a lot of manipulation, which I love. Like fabric, textile manipulation is so much fun. So they're going to be able to do some really cool stuff now that they have a more broader access to materials. And also their
Yeah.
budget went up, I believe.
I think it did. And I also think with season one, they had to build an entire
Yeah,
sound stage and
that
like
they
a
weren't
studio.
expecting. Yeah,
Right. So, I mean, I think that would free up a lot more of the
yeah.
money for
They can
season
go on.
two.
They can go to locations. I enjoy 7 and 8 just because I'm a naive land stan. Um, but they were rough because I could see COVID happen.
Tell me what how you feel about this one for Siuan Sanche. I I think this artwork itself is beautiful.
It's very nice. There is a picture of her in this, which is very interesting.
Talk about it. Let me know
Um,
what are you thinking?
I'm more familiar with European fashion. I don't know exactly what is happening where she is. It looks like she might be in China, but she might not. I have no idea. That headdress is very like Ukrainian wedding
Yeah,
crap,
I was gonna say it feels like there's a definite like Slavic influence.
which is super interesting. Depending on where she is, it could be way more weave based than anything else. If she is, we're gonna get political for 2 seconds. If she
That's
is in
fine.
Shinar, which is technically a country under war, right? Wearing a Ukrainian style headdress is very like whoa. Because of the situation happening in Ukraine, like it could get really deep. It could just be that it was a great headdress. It also could be like African
Oh, that's true.
or
That's
something. Like,
true. I see that as well.
so I don't know. I think also the collar thing that she's got going on to me is very like Russian Ukrainian. So
Yeah, and we don't know also who the creative team is. So if
yeah,
there was someone from this region that was like, look, like there's something like that I'm seeing in the back of my head and I want to play with this idea, and everyone's like, great, we like it.
yeah. It
Who
goes with her
knows?
whole gold thing.
Right.
Who is she visiting? Are they friendly to Aes Sedai? Is this a like, listen guys, I know y'all have a crown, but I also have a crown,
That's what I think. That's
and
what
I'm
I'm
not going to
leaning
bring out the
towards.
stole. Like, depending on the situation in which this image is taking place, like that guy in the back. What was the nation that we saw the battle in?
Oh, Gillidan
Gillidan, like
or Geldon, I guess how they say it in the
Gillidan.
show.
however you want to pronounce it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
he kind of reminds me of that. So is she in Gale Dawn?
Oh, interesting.
But
Interesting.
but also, like, as we've mentioned, this is all one land, so fashions can go very differently. Like, they can all be the same, they can be vastly different, they can depend on the person's status. I don't know who this guy is.
Okay, so you
Sorry.
saying all of this. No, 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 you saying all of this. I just had a thought. This looks like something you would wear to make an address to like the people. Like
It
this
is.
is
Yep.
very over the top. I'm seeing like some influence of like Roman Catholic, some influences
Very
of
Pope like.
Slavic.
It is very
Yeah,
Pope like.
exactly. I'm just wondering, like, it looks like almost they're like rolling out the proverbial carpet for her, like she's walking outside to make an address.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, what if this is actually in Falma, like after all the events have happened and like people just saw what they saw, the Dragon Reborn up in the sky doing the thing, fighting the fight. And she's like, look, this is it. This is him. I know it's so unlike what happens in the books.
I was gonna say it seems a little early, but that doesn't necessarily. There's a lot of, like, I love the books, but there's a lot of things that could get cut out and make it like shorter.
Yeah.
So very true. She at this time in the books she would be in Shinar. I don't see this being Shinar.
I just think this looks like the set from the earlier images of what we know as Faldara.
Yeah. Oh
Or
no, I
Falma, I
Falma.
mean, sorry, Falma.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that this couldn't be after that battle happened, because it would fit with like the books. But I mean, what happened in that scene in the books? I
They
believe that's the
leave
scene.
immediately after Falma.
Yeah,
Like
they leave. Matt's already gone to go do his thing at Tarvalon.
he gets taken to be healed, everyone splits up. That's kind
Yeah,
of like
it's
the
happened already.
divergence
So
point.
do we
Yeah.
need it?
Right, that's true. That's true.
Could also be a flashback. I could see her wearing this to confront Logain, but I don't know. Like, who knows where they're
Yeah.
going with this? Or she could be giving a declaration. Who knows what happened in the rest of the world while Rand was doing his thing at the Eye of the World? Like, right?
Right, this could be like a episode 1 type of thing where she's making an address to someone. It could be an episode 8 type
Yeah,
of thing where she's making an address.
yeah.
So is there anything that you wanted to say about just the overall design of this,
I
or would
mean,
you like to move on?
I think we can move on. We've discussed a lot about it, and it all is based in yes. The
Yes.
only Moiraine costume that I would actually wear. Um,
I
I
I
am here
really
for
like
this.
this.
I am
Yeah,
glad that they did not do the picture, which we discussed in our message together. The
right.
picture is very childlike to me,
Yeah.
being a Westerner, like knowing a lot about Western fashion. Like, this is very like 1850s child.
Well, it looks like a doll. It looks like a
Yes.
doll.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's the length of the skirt, the pattern on the jacket. The actual costume looks way more appropriate, authoritarian, maybe
Yeah,
even.
I think the thing is on its own, the artwork, it's really interesting. Like I like it on its own. I think visually there's a lot going on and there's a lot of details to kind of like draw your eye in.
Yeah.
But is
Hmm.
it Moraine Sedai? Like
Hmm.
this streamlined, let's get down to business,
Yeah.
no fluff, no, just she is just like a laser guided,
Yeah.
she's always just going straight forward and doing what she needs to do.
Yep.
So,
I think it just is a little juvenile in this
yeah,
case. I love the quilting on her skirt, which means it's cold.
I'm just going to make a guess and say that this is Kyrian because of the background. Like in the original image, it's kind of cropped here. It's like people lined up almost in a soup line.
Okay.
And what we know from Kyrie, and this looks like the outside of Kyrie and the foregate, where it's a little bit more ramshackle and people aren't as well to do.
Hmm.
But that would mean she's having a homecoming and returning to her like ancestral
Hmm.
seat, I guess.
Interesting. I know Kyrie has a very specific look to it.
I think French Japanese influence. I think Kyrian is much more when you're within the city proper, like around the aristocrats and nobility, then it's much more of like what you're thinking of like court in our
Yeah,
history,
yeah,
like these very like French inspired
that's right. They are
gowns.
very French. They're very French. It's a very different silhouette from her at the tower, and
This
I
is
don't
true.
know why.
Maybe it's more like a functional thing. Like when she's on the road, when she's in the tower, she's kind of here and there, right?
Mm.
So maybe more pants, more.
But like when she's addressing the sitters, very streamlined. The tower look is
Mhm.
very up,
Yeah,
very
upward.
shoulders, like square shoulders, tight sleeves, all tight everything. It's very tight dress. This is not that. Her court dress with the sitters has the
Yeah,
shoulders. This does not. This is the opposite. This is an
this is
off the
true.
shoulder, casual structure. I see her wearing it and I don't understand why at this point. Like what
Maybe
is
it was just totally like new costume designer, new ideas. Like maybe they were like, we're going in a different direction.
I mean very possibly unless this isn't Kyrian and it's a place where this style is more traditional. She's trying to blend in again. Like,
I would just like to see what it looks like without the overcoat, like the outerwear,
yeah,
what the
yeah, but the outerwear
silhouette
is my
is.
favorite part.
No, I love it. I love it. But getting to see it in separates, you would get more of an idea of like, is she gonna have like the poofy, the big I
Nope.
almost just said
Like a bum roll? Like, what are we talking about here?
yeah, yeah, like the big behind where it's like poofed out.
Either a bum roll or a bustle. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah,
But in this style of skirt, because it is quilted, is going to be very stiff. Like
that would
that's what
make
the quilting
sense.
is for. So she doesn't necessarily need anything. Like I'm pretty
Right.
sure that under that skirt is just the gathering of, or under that jacket is just the gathering of that skirt.
Okay.
I don't think that she's wearing anything underneath that makes it even
Yeah.
fluffier.
I just love this white top
I
underneath.
I
It is
love I love all of it. The eyelet is really nice. At least I think it's eyelet from this distance. From the picture, it kind of looks eyelet. We're we're still going very Scandinavian, I think.
in this, yeah, especially in the image,
Yeah,
the
or
artwork.
maybe even like
Yeah.
Czech. I want to say
Yeah, yeah, something like
like
that. Yeah.
that area. I guess I don't
Hmm.
think it's Baltic, but like yeah,
Like
it's very
bohemian. Yeah.
yeah very. It looks very Czech. It doesn't look French.
I was gonna say maybe she's trying to like be incognito and not wear like the fashion of
Her own
the
country.
area.
I
Right.
don't know if
But
they're at war with anybody. Is Kyrie at war
right?
with anybody? Who knows?
Yeah, I don't
Um,
know.
I mean, all of this will get answered in like 2 seconds in the show, but
Yeah.
but speculation is fun. I don't think that if we do get to Kyrian at this time period, she's gonna wear Kyrianan things unless she's trying to distance herself. But that also wouldn't make sense. But we also know that they did cast her brother,
Her sister.
her sister.
Hmm.
So we know that we're gonna get there, and we're gonna see more of her, the Damodred family. So she wouldn't be trying to distance herself from them visually by changing the silhouette.
I'm just wondering too if her family is like about as noble as you can be. They're in line for the throne there. So maybe it's not so much that she's trying to distance like the look, but like the esteem. Like she doesn't want to be seen as
Like a
House
freeloader.
Damodred.
Yeah.
Yeah, or maybe she rejects that. Maybe she's just like, no, I'm an Aes Sedai. Like I'm not Kyrian and nobility. Like that's
Yeah, but
my old life.
she's still embraced the Kyrian aesthetic, even in the tower. So it'd be very weird for her to abandon all of it while actually in Kyrian.
Not so much abandon all of it because within Kyrian, there's two very distinct styles. There's the style of the upper class and then the style of the lower class.
Of
And maybe
course.
she's kind of put together something that's a little bit in between.
She's still trying to be incognito, but also failing miserably, like she did in the Two Rivers. Like, she doesn't
That's,
look like anybody behind her.
yeah, that's true. I
Which,
mean,
like,
there,
as I said, as we have seen, she's not good at cognito. She
no,
stands out all the time. So,
always.
still very possible that she was like, "Gah, he got it again. Look it, I'm a common person," and we're all like, "No, no, you're
Yeah,
not."
I don't know. Maybe it's just the jacket that makes it look so different, but we haven't seen what the nobility actually looks like yet. So
Yeah,
maybe they will dress very much in line with what she's wearing. We don't
it's
know.
very different. It's very different. Styles have apparently changed a lot if this is what Kyrie Ann looks like versus what she usually wears.
Yeah, I just think too with the overcoat with the jacket, like you can tell she's got big poofy sleeves
I would sell
underneath.
my soul for that jacket. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, if you take the jacket off, it might have a totally different aesthetic without it.
True,
So I don't
it's not
know.
going to have puffy sleeves though. I can kind of tell
Yeah,
you
you can
that.
see it does. You can
It
see
has
them.
puffy bottom sleeves,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah. Like at the
she's
cuff.
had puffy shoulders
Right, right,
throughout,
right.
which is a very
Yeah,
different look.
the shoulder difference is very, very like
Yeah.
on opposite ends of the
It's more kimono
spectrum.
like it's a little bit more my man land, to be honest.
Yeah, yeah,
I
that's
think.
what. Well, maybe that's that Japanese influence kind of coming in and matching with what Lan was wearing, which was more of like a Korean
Yeah,
inspired.
yeah,
Yeah, so you got more like Eastern inspiration coming through. I love it though. I like the belt. I mean, I like everything about it.
yeah.
She looks great no matter
This is,
what she's wearing.
as I was saying, this
So,
is like the first outfit that I would make that. I would wear that.
yeah.
I didn't like any of her season one outfit. I didn't like them because they look horrible on me.
So like I
Not
can't wear
saying that
that.
they
Thanks.
weren't amazing, but I would look horrible in all of them. I would make this.
It's beautiful. Like I said, I do like the artwork, but I like how they've streamlined it
Yeah,
because this is much more Moraine. Like no big
yeah.
frills, no big patterns. Like it's very classic.
All of her pomp isn't in the shiny things. It is in
Correct.
the well tailored things and the materials
Yes.
that the things are made out of. She's
Yeah.
not gonna wear big ass, well, besides the ring, big ass jewelry. She's not gonna wear a crown.
Clunky.
She would look
Mhm.
so uncomfortable in what Swan was wearing. It's not
Yeah.
even funny.
Yeah. One of the things I forgot to say this when we were here, though, that I love about this is because within the Wheel of Time, there's like two schools of thought, right? There's one where it's like, come to Tar Valon. You can be powerful there. You will be welcomed there. If you're a woman who can channel, this is like a home for you. And then on the other hand, there are people that see the Aes Sedai as just
A problem.
well, a problem, but like they control the entire world. They see them as like puppet masters.
Yeah,
And I think this look says so much because no matter where the Amerlin seat goes, it doesn't matter who she's around. She's still like the top dog of this world.
yeah,
Like there's no one in this universe that is more powerful than this woman. So wherever she goes, like she doesn't need to wear a crown. She can show it with like a headdress or her garments, and she's going to outshine anyone that she's in contact with. And I think this is just a fun way to show that, do it through the costuming, and then you have the other Siuan Sanche, where when she's in her quarters and just on her downtime and not addressing someone, she's like in linen and like just these
Yeah.
laid back, very casual outfits. And I think this, I mean, really shows like the duality of the woman and the status.
Yeah. I'm interested to see where they take Swan, because I don't see this Swan. Maybe I could see this Swan doing similar things to Book Swan.
In book two, in The Great Hunt, she makes an address to the people of Faldara, and it's
Mm-hmm.
before all hell breaks loose, or it's after all hell
Oh,
breaks
hell, yeah.
loose.
Yeah.
And she almost gets hit with an arrow, but we later find out that it wasn't intended to go to her.
Yeah.
Like there, like she is so commanding, but she is also, despite that, like the tiniest bit humble as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it, again, like there's just like the weight of the world is probably on this woman's shoulders, but she's still just like, yep, I'm just like a lowly fisherman's daughter.
Yeah.
Like, just here I am.
They're showing her duality before the tower does what the tower does.
Right,
So I don't
right.
know if they're going down that road or not. I don't know if this is if they're going to make the tower crumble, because I can't see it with this version of Swan. I can, because she's already shown it to me, but being so bombastic about doing laundry and like serving, like this Swan seems like, I'm going to do what I got to do to survive. I just want the tower back, guys. I just want the tower back. I don't think she's going to be as bombastic if she gets stilled, and then, but also no Gareth Bryn. Like, what are we doing with
We don't know.
Elaine?
Yeah. We don't know.
We have
Yeah.
no idea.
I could see if this is her making an address like at the end of the season after the Battle of Falma, that this would be one of the indicators of like the tower coup and everything like that. Like,
Mm,
what's Swan Sanche been up to? You know, advocating for the dragon freaking reborn. All right,
that's
like
true.
throw her in the dungeon.
That is true.
I don't know. It could be like setting the stage for that.
Yeah. The other interesting thing is that we've seen all of, well, I guess we haven't seen new characters. We've seen, at this point, seeing like more gays. Why haven't we seen her?
Would love that. I would
Like,
love that.
you could keep it as the big surprise, but I feel like you don't have to.
Mhm.
Like, you have so many surprises. Why are you holding back on that? Like, we don't even
Mm.
know. We've kind of seen what
Elaine?
yeah, Elaine. I was like, no, that's a normal name. I don't, that's not it. We saw her in a clip, but we
Mhm.
haven't seen her fancy yet.
Right, just like in the novice gowns
Yeah.
and
So like, I feel like that would be a reveal. We might not get that as a reveal.
we might not even get anything with her backstory besides her introducing herself in the White Tower, like, "Oh, hey, you know,
Yeah, I've
I'm
picked up this
Elaine."
person. What's up? Like,
Right? Like, I would love to see, I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm just a sucker for, like, a traveling scene, but, like, her being escorted
who
to the
doesn't love a
tower.
traveling scene?
Right? Right? Her being escorted to the tower with, guards and everything. I would love that. Like, visually would love that. Do they have enough time to do it in 8 episodes? I don't know.
Yeah. Or would they keep her under wrap? This is all speculation, obviously. Would they keep her
Yeah.
under wrap because I guess really like the whole kingdom is kind of okay with the Aes Sedai, so it doesn't really matter if you have publicly announced that the next queen of Andor is going to Tarvalin. So I
Right?
guess, yeah, a big traveling scene would be nice.
That would be cool just to see like the guards, the status, what the outfits are. Are they having like their own military look?
It's
Like I
all pomp
love.
and circumstance. We'd get a lot of cultural
Mhm.
context clues.
Exactly. Exactly. So I wanted to ask you as far as like other things that we haven't seen in these images, is there anything like a culture, nation, group of people that you're really wanting to see and that you have like that you have an explicit like idea in your head for what they could look like or what you would want them to look like? Is there anyone that you're just super excited for?
I mean, and/or in general, if we get a more gaze, I'm here for it. It's gonna be mind blowing. Like
Yeah.
from to a costume standpoint, it's gonna be so nice because
Well,
like
yeah,
the
like a
queen of
queen.
one of
Like,
the most wealthiest places. Like,
yeah. Before you move on, will any queen do? Like, if we saw any king or queen from anywhere, would that still like check a box for you?
no,
Okay.
no,
You want more gays?
I do. Ooh, or Grendel. I'll take Grendel. I don't know if they're gonna put her in. I think Ooh, I think that she is a Forsaken that you probably could like move along.
Yeah.
But I like her.
I I'm in the same mindset. I love Grendel because of what it could do for the world building, for like the styling, for the garments, for the
Yeah,
costumes. And then I also have another one who I it's very unpopular, but I don't know if you remember Savannah, the one from the Shido, who's just like in all the jewels, all the silks, and like that is one character where I'm like, I just want her sheer like just for the outfits,
it's going to be
just
interesting to see the difference in the
Aiel.
Aiel. Thank you. Too
Hmm.
many weird words between the wise ones and the heads of the clan and
Farterize my
ours,
like
like it's gonna be wild. And then like
yeah,
making it all super cohesive because all we've seen is spear maidens and like they're not your standard.
right, right.
Like they're the outlier in this culture.
Well, they have one very specific role that they play, so their
Yes,
garments would reflect that.
exactly.
They're not like a
Um,
roof mistress lounging, working at
yeah,
home, doing things like that. They're out
yeah,
fighting.
yeah, exactly. So like soup and like let's be honest, redheads in the desert are just bad news bears.
Can you speak to some
Like
experience in
if
this?
they're not wearing burqas, we're all getting sunburn, and we will stock up on like if the threefold land if it is just not covered in aloe vera plants,
Right,
like
right.
we're all screwed.
Yeah.
I mean, it does look like they're going with like a darker complexioned redhead. So yeah, they're very exciting. Grendel, very excited about her. If we get her, I
What about Lanfear? Are you excited for Lanfear? You're just like,
I
because
hate
I
him.
can, you want me to tell you how I feel about, I
There are
don't
two
care.
characters that I do not like. One of them is Lanfear. The other one
Not a
I'm
fan.
excited to see, which is Fail. I don't like Fail, but I'm interested to see Fail because I
Hmm.
feel like she's going to have a very similar aesthetic to Moiraine. And as we all know, I'm here for well tailored clothes
Ooh, yeah, yeah.
because she's hunting the horn. It's going to be great. Don't like her. Don't like Min for some reason. I
I'm
don't know.
okay. I'm okay on men. Like I'm not she's not a character when I read her chapters. I'm like, "Ooh, great, another Min chapter." You
I
know, I
I think
appreciate her, but
yeah, I think it's because I liked her when she was badass, and then she became not badass,
she gets a little watered down.
and I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, you had such an opportunity here.
Yeah. Well, that's how I feel about Lanfear because it's like she was a scientist, she was like intelligent, and then
Yeah,
she's just reduced to the crazy ex-girlfriend trope. And I'm just like, that's
yeah. Hear me out. Because Lanfear and Grendel's backstories are so similar. People forget that Grendel was like straight laced.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
we're not having any of it. I'm just going to go study things. Lanfear, same thing. Just ended up in a
Yeah,
different
similar.
lady stereotype.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Oh, Robert Jordan. Oh, Robert Jordan. Grendel is one that I'm very excited to see costumes for. I mean, I just think from like a design aspect, like that's a character that you want because you're like, ooh boy,
Yeah.
like what type of fabric are we looking at? What type of cuts?
I
Like,
want her to be like a replica of Catherine the Great. Because Catherine the Great literally had like all of those like erotic furniture you see from like the 1700s. Those are all from Catherine the Great's collection.
that is very interesting. I
So
really
like,
like this idea, lounging on these like X-rated couches.
because that's what she like. You listen to it and you're like, yes, girl, get it. Like,
No, I mean, that's the thing that I get really excited to see in terms of like world building and like production design is just like, even just something as simple as the furniture where you're like, oh, did you see what they just did?
yeah.
Like, great,
When we
love
go
it.
to Tyr, the museum at Tyr, and all
The,
of the
the
things.
Panarch's Palace.
Yeah, sorry. And all of the things are actually things from like our decade, and you're like,
Right. The
why is that a
Mercedes-Benz
is it
symbol.
Mitsubishi symbol or like
I think Mercedes, I think.
Mercedes? You're like,
Yeah. But then
that
too,
wasn't
they
my
have like
first choice.
yeah, then they have like I think like saber-toothed cat fossils or skeletons. Like they've got all types of weird stuff, but that's one of the things that I really appreciate is because like within this world, it's simultaneously our past and our future at the same time. And that's one of the things that I think that they've done a really good job this season, just from these images that we've seen, like reflecting that in the
Yeah,
costumes.
I would say that Ranland people look like a fantasy version of us, right?
Yeah,
An older version of us. And then the Seanchan look like a futuristic version that would occur
right.
because of what it looked like, because of the base.
Yeah, yeah, and the separation. When you've got 3,000 years to yourself, like alone on a separate continent with no outside influence, your style is going to become vastly different
Yeah.
than what everyone else is wearing, and
Yeah.
that's exciting to me. Like it's great to see that reflected in the costuming that they had that idea in mind when they created it.
Yeah. It's going to be a good time. As I said, now that we don't have, like, we're not at a fabric shortage, prices of things are going down, kind of, and the budget has gone up. I would be
Yeah,
interested to see what they do with all of that. And the fact that they don't have to like build a set last minute and find a stage to put it on.
right. I'm
Like
very
use
excited.
all that money, go out places, find the
Hmm.
places. Like, it's going to be fun. I mean, to be fair, if you didn't like the first season, you're not going to like the second season, and
Probably not.
you already know that. So don't complain about it. You already know you're not going to like it. So just go away.
That's like every other Instagram post that I make. It's like people like, yeah, it'd be a lot cool if they just made the books how they are. And I'm like,
But
we're
and
still talking about this, I guess.
and I say to all of those people, and you can quote me on it, books are not a visual medium. They're not a
They're
visual
not
medium. What I think it should look like and what you think it should look like are not the same thing. So you
right.
can't say, I wish they stuck to the books, because the only thing that you're constantly going to have in the books is events. That's all you can say. As we have just discussed, what the is a collar? What is it? This collar? This shirt collar? Like, what is a collar?
Right. It's true. It's true.
And what I think a collar looks like, and what you think a collar, even if we went, what does a dog collar look like? What
Yeah.
I
Is
think
it
it
a
looks like, what you
harness?
think it
Is
looks
it
like,
right?
two completely different things. So just shut up and sit down if you think that, oh, I wish it looked like the books. Like, it's not going to, because everyone has a different opinion of what a word means.
Yeah, that's the thing though, like everything's open to interpretation, especially when you're changing medium.
Yeah,
So why not have
absolutely.
fun with it? My God, like why
Absolutely.
not go like even further outside the realm of like what you think could be possible? Like here you have people who are artists and they're creating things and they're using their imagination and their skill to bring you something that they find joy in, you
Yeah.
know, like they're not creating these things thinking like, well, here in the books it says like it has to be this color and it has to be this cut. Like, no, that's boring. Like,
And
wouldn't you be
visually,
excited for someone to like step outside the realm of like what they think is possible and give you something that's just extra?
yeah, and visually interesting to a group of people.
Right. Right.
I don't know. They can just go away. Like if you didn't like the first season, you're not gonna like the second season. Maybe wait until you get to the 8th season and just bitch for a month about it.
Should we end it on that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you so much for joining me. Like I said, I'm going to link all of your accounts and anything you want down in the description below. And good luck in the next few months, all of the cons, all of the cosplay designs that you're putting together. I love looking at everything that you do, and thanks for joining me.
Thank you. It was fun.